Hi, everyone, and welcome to Building Digital Products YouTube channel, where we speak about the technologies that can boost your business here and now. Our guest today is Chris Edson, who is not only recognized as one of the Forbes 30 Under 30, but is also the CEO and founder of Second Nature. So the past 8 years, this weightless app has been causing a stir in the UK. It's been listed among the top 50 startups in the European Union and secured the second spot in the top 20 UK healthcare startups to watch list. So far, Second Nature has raised over $30 million and has caught the attention of major publications like The Guardian, The Times, and the TechCrunch. What's even more impressive is that 90% of the Trustpilot reviews rate Second Nature as excellent. The reason 9 out of 10 users not only lose weight, but also manage to keep it off for a whole year. Thank you for joining on the podcast. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. So today we are going to speak a little bit about your, I do not say that this is your startup already, but your successful business. I would be glad to learn some insights from you. So how did you identify opportunities in the market and actually see the concept behind the Second Nature?
Yeah, so the way that we, I guess, came up with the idea, I came out of university not really being sure what I wanted to do with my life. I knew I wanted to start a business, but I didn't know what that business was going to be. Mm-hmm. I knew I wanted to help people, as broad as that was, and I knew that I wanted to work on a really big and important problem. Mm-hmm. So I left university, and my mum at the time said, you should go and get a real job first. Don't go start a business, go and get a real job. Mm-hmm. And I said, but this is like 10, 15 years ago. But I said, but mum, I don't want to work for anyone else. And she said, just please try and get a real job. So I joined a strategy consultancy. Mm-hmm. That was my first job out of university. And while I was in that consultancy, I ended up working a lot on healthcare projects. So I ended up working as a consultant with health insurers. I ended up working with the UK's NHS. I ended up working with different pharmaceutical companies, ended up working with different charities as well. So businesses like, charities like Macmillan Cancer Support. So I got this full view of the healthcare system in the UK. Mm-hmm. And while I was doing that job, I was so struck by the lack of support that was available for people living with type 2 diabetes. And I thought, this doesn't seem right. So along with a friend of mine who I was working with at the time, a guy called Mike, we thought we should do something about this. And we're young. We were maybe 25 at the time. We're much older now. We were, 25 at the time, and we thought we should do something about this. So we quit our day jobs to do something about it. And we didn't know what we were going to do in the type 2 diabetes space. We had no idea. We thought we could deliver some kind of digital product to help people. And that's where Second Nature was born. It was really from this idea that you could use a digital product to help change people's habits and behaviors. We quit. We started speaking to behavioral scientists. We spoke to a whole bunch of universities. We learned as much as we could about behavioral science. We read a lot of scientific papers. And that's where we formed the product kind of structure of Second Nature. That's really where the whole idea of it.
Right. That's very cool. I'm communicating right now to a lot of founders and CEOs, and they said that the idea comes because of the problems on the environment, and they notice these problems, and then out of the problems, they found actually a startup. And so here, I think that this is something similar. You have also found a problem that there is a lack of support for people, and you decided to go. So this is very interesting and insightful. Okay, so you had founded a startup and your business was successful, right? And at what moment you felt that the second nature needed to take things up or scale?
I don't think that moment ever particularly came. I think the reality of most companies, the reality of most startups is you take venture capital funding because you need to survive. And I think that's something that probably isn't talked about too much. So I don't think we had the idea that, oh, we need to scale this, we should go raise money. Instead, it's we can't pay people's salaries next month, so we need to raise some money. And that's the reality for most companies. Most founders, if they tell you something different, they're probably not being as authentic as they could be. So my mindset on this has changed a lot. Most businesses, they raise money because they're running out of cash. And so they have to try and hit growth goals. And then they raise the money because they're about to run out of cash, rather than we're going to raise money because we want to conquer the world. Now, of course, that is the story they tell to the venture capitalists. And that is the story that they tell to their team, because you have to, right? That's a powerful, compelling narrative. But I think the reality is more nuanced. I mean, the state that we're in now as a business is quite different, which is that if we go out to raise money again, it will be because we're in a strong, stable position right now where we don't need to raise money again in the future. That's a very different position for fundraising, because then when you fundraise, it really is for growth rather than to avoid death. And they're very different reasons for why you would fundraise, even if your pitch deck doesn't. No one goes out to raise and says, yeah, you need to give me this money, because if you don't, then the company dies. No, it's not a compelling narrative. But that's the reality for most businesses in the early stages. Say you're running a business and you have 1 month from running out of cash. Your first order of your hierarchy of operations, right, is I need to raise money because I run out of cash in 1 month. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but for your business. So the number one priority is I need cash in the bank to survive. That's like the number one priority for a business, is just to survive. And then the second order of business is to grow and be successful and use that money to develop your product more or to gain more market share. But the first order of operations is to survive. And almost every time we have fundraised, it has been because we need to survive. And every time we've been a bigger company and we've had more revenue and we've grown. But that's the first thing that you need to. Anyone that tells you otherwise, that the first order of business is to grow, it's not. The first order of business is to not let the company die.
A recipe, maybe, do you have, or what exact steps you can advise to effectively utilize the substantial sum? For example, if you received the funding, so how do you see this wise utilization of the sum that you have in order to scale successfully?
So there are two reasons why you'd raise money. One is to accelerate your product development, and two is to acquire customers faster than you normally would. Really, those are the only most reasons why you fundraise fall into those two categories. So either build stuff faster or acquire customers faster. Because you don't, if you're just growing at a normal rate, so maybe you're growing at 10% a year, which is a typical rate for a lot of companies. You don't need venture capital funding for that. But say you want to grow at 100% a year, 200% a year, 300% a year, then you may need some capital. So that's how I would think about how do you use your venture capital money most effectively. It's trying to work out what product do we want to build faster through more engineering or better product design. and how do we want to acquire customers faster? So a lot of companies will, and it depends on the stage. At the seed stage, the money that you raise is really to build your product faster. But as you go to Series A, which is later, and then Series B, which is even later, and then Series C and beyond, that tends to be because you're trying to grab market share. And that will mean you're not growing profitably. It will mean that you are using that cash to pay for unprofitable marketing, or it will be that you're using that cash to hire a bigger sales team. And that sales team, you need a whole bunch of capital right now to hire that sales team, and they may not pay back for maybe 2 or 3 years. So that's how I think about using the money most effectively. It should be as strategic as possible.
Yeah, sure. It's very insightful. Thanks for your answer. Okay, not so long ago, Second Nature was recommended by NICE as one of the best weight loss apps that helps patients with obesity. So additionally, it's endorsed by the National Healthcare Service for Diabetes Management and become part of their diabetes prevention program. So what is the secret for the healthcare startup to earn such a nod from national institutions?
It's just taken a very, very long time. So that has been 7 years in the making. It's not something that happens overnight. In order to get that kind of accolade with a healthcare system, you need a lot of trust and a lot of reputation in that market. So there's a expression that I like, which is trust is consistency over time. So the way that you build trust in a market, like within the UK's healthcare system, is you behave consistently over time. It's not something that you can do overnight. The NHS is not going to trust us the day after they hear about us. The NHS will trust us after maybe 5 years of us performing at an exceptional level, delivering the service that we said that we were going to do at a very high quality with no patient safety concerns. So that trust, and if we ever did anything bad, that trust would immediately be eroded. So the NICE accreditation, it comes from building a lot of trust and credibility and reputation in that market. You can't shortcut that. It just takes a lot of time and perseverance.
But sometimes, I know that sometimes you can't predict that 100% of, for example, 100% of the customers will be satisfied with your product, or 100% will be just happy. So sometimes it appears, and you need us to accept that. So how did you manage to earn such a good reputation? Do you control every step of your project, of your, process? How did you achieve this excellence?
I think we're not perfect. No company, no business is perfect. I would say that, yes, we're very methodical about how we approach our product, how we deliver what we deliver to customers. I mean, a lot of it just comes back to being as customer centric as possible. So yes, some customers won't like what we deliver, and that's fine. We'll make mistakes, and that's fine. But I think if you stay customer centric to your core, and by customer centric, I mean really understand your customer and understand their wants, their pain points, their needs, understand their blockers. So one way to think about it, if you build your product along those lines, you'll probably be okay. So for us, we actually have 2 customers. We have the NHS, well, we have lots of partners but talking about the NHS, we have the NHS, and then we have the actual end users, the patients that use our product. So they're 2 very different customers, 2 very different stakeholders. We've worked very hard to understand, well, what does the NHS really need from us? What are their pain points? And I guess what you learn is a lot of especially around type 2 diabetes, a lot of the pain points for the NHS is around providing access to lower income groups, providing access to ethnic minorities. They have lots of problems with the finances of the NHS are extremely tight. So there's lots of services in the NHS that are going bankrupt right now. So when you know those kinds of insights, that informs your product development, and that's how you build a strong relationship with that customer. And then it's the same on the end patient. Is we work very, very hard to try and deliver an amazing patient experience as well, to really understand why is someone overweight, what's causing them to be overweight, and then build a product that really solves those fundamental issues. So if you stay customer centric, that's how you'll build that trust in the market. But I think a lot of healthcare startups, they are probably not as customer centric as they should be. A lot of healthcare startups, they're often built by medical professionals. And what that means, so there's lots of doctors that start businesses in healthcare, and that's great, that's amazing. But occasionally doctors do not have the training for product design. They don't have the training to really understand a customer. They probably have a very strong view of what the product should be in their mind. They're probably not that acceptable. They're not that open to external feedback. And so they end up building a product that they think is great, rather than doing a different process, which is trying to speak to as many customers as possible, trying to map out a customer journey and building a product that way. So I think a lot of health tech startups struggle to build customer-centric companies.
Right. I do like your opinion. Thank you so much. So moving to the next question, I just wanted to ask about your app that you have represented for the second major. It's interesting statistic that about 95% of the App Store's revenue comes from free apps. And my question is, what motivated you to go against the usual approach and introduce a free download purchase for the second major?
So it's really down to our distribution strategy. So our most of our revenue comes through partnerships. So to the NHS, to insurers like Vitality Health. And what that means is it's not the end customer paying, right? It is the NHS or is the health insurer paying for it. So rather than going through an in-app purchase, also in-app purchases. So we do allow you to self-join and self-pay for the Second Nature program, and we have thousands of people that do that. We also, because what we deliver, a big part of our program is health coaching. So it's a person-to-person service. What that means is we are exempt from paying the Apple 30% tax. It's similar to how Uber doesn't use in-app purchases. It's similar to how Amazon, it doesn't use in-app purchases. So because we don't have to use the in-app store payments, because we deliver, I guess it's not digital, right? It's not a pure digital program. It's a program where you get a health coach who is a real person that you speak to. And we send you stuff in the post. So you get scales, you get program materials. So that's why we don't do in-app purchases.
I see. That's the difference of the aim of the app. And I think
but also the main reason is just what our distribution strategy is. So because most of our customers are not paying for the program directly. So we give them an account and then they sign in to the app with their account.
I see. Okay. Great. Thanks. Then moving forward to some regulatory compliances. For example, could you provide what a key compliances a UK healthcare startup must adhere for a successful launch? For example, on the USA, we have worked with HIPAA regulations for the USA actually market that you need to know and to follow for the personal security information of the patient. So maybe you have a list of the places that healthcare startups should follow, exactly for the
Yeah,
UK.
there's a couple of things. The main thing is called the DTAC, which is the Digital Technology Assessment Criteria. So NHS England put out a specification for if you are delivering a digital technology into the NHS, then you have to align to the DTAC. There's a whole bunch of other smaller things, but the main thing is DTAC accreditation, and then DTAC itself has a whole bunch of other requirements. But the main thing is DTAC, and it's been a big evolution for the NHS. So it wasn't always the DTAC. Right now, today, it is what's called the DTAC. A few years ago, it was something different because it's a new thing to the NHS. You know, commissioning digital services is a very new initiative. So the standards are changing quite frequently.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Right now, one of the most interesting part, I think, about the AI, it's very popular topic nowadays. Every business just wanted to implement some part and to have this AI part in their business for different reasons. And Second Nature is not the exception. You have launched a coach deputy. So we all know that developing AI part, it isn't for £5 or something. So it's not a small amount, a small sum. How do you track the effectiveness of this new tool for your business like that?
How do we track the effectiveness of AI? So yeah, we've launched Coach GPT, which is it's a free AI health coach that you can go to coach.secondnature.io and check out. And then we have a whole bunch of internal tools that use AI. So our health coaches, they have some internal tooling they use to make their jobs easier. So that we treat our internal AI tools so that there's within the data world. So AI kind of sits within the data world rather than the engineering world. We try and encourage our data science team to think about AI as a product. So the way that we assess it is in the same way that we'd assess any product, which is looking at the usage data. It's doing user interviews. It's doing things like the product market fit survey. So for example, within our health coaches, there's a question that came from the Superhuman founder, who I think stole it from someone else. And I forget the name of him, but the product market fit question that I really love is, how disappointed would you be if this product didn't exist? And if a lot of people say, I'd be really disappointed if this product didn't exist anymore, that's quite a strong indication that you have product market fit and there's probably something there. And that is a question we use to work out, is this AI tool actually useful for people, or is it just a bit of a gimmick? Is it there one day and gone the next? So for our internal tools, that is something that we ask our health coaches is, how disappointed would you be if we remove these AI tools? And we're getting quite close to what I would describe as product market fit with it. We're not quite there yet, but we launched changes to our internal tools every week at the moment. So yeah.
Right.
It's an exciting time.
Right now, many startup founders run their heads into a brick while trying to launch an AI tool right from the get-go. So when do you think is the ideal moment for a young startup to seriously think and consider incorporation of AI? It shouldn't be from the very beginning, sounds like connected to the AI, or just starting and then implementing the AI further?
I'm not sure there's an ideal moment for any business. I think that it's entirely context dependent on where your business is, what the industry is in, what stage that you're at.
Mhm.
I think startups have the advantage from a lot of large corporates that they can start implementing stuff very, very fast. But the way I would think about it, unless you are an AI company and your whole product is AI,
Yeah.
what I would think about is, does the use of AI provide a significant competitive advantage in your market? So does it allow you to build a moat against your competition? Does
Mhm.
it allow you to grow faster? Does it allow you to, does it provide a barrier to entry against other companies in your space? And then it is quite simply, I think a lot, I'm a bit of a nerd. So I think a lot about expected value in making decisions. So for something
Yeah.
like that, I would work out, what is the expected value of implementing an AI tool in my business? Is the expected value that in 2 years it will provide real differentiation against one of my competition? Um, and it's going to mean that they can't do the things that we do. If so, maybe it should go on the roadmap. But as always, a startup is a lot about saying no. You have quite limited resources, so you have to prioritize very strictly. So you just need to make sure that the expected value of doing the AI stuff is higher than something else that you might be doing, because there's always the danger as well. The reason why I like expected value is because it takes into account the uncertainty of whatever it is that you're doing. So if you go and do AI, there is a probability that it will be a total waste of time compared to maybe a new product feature. A new product feature that you might have your engineering team spend on, there's probably, you have a much higher certainty that that will go and be successful.
Mhm.
So look, it's all a game of like probabilities, expected rewards. I'm very kind of structured in how I think about those decisions. And I would
Yeah.
encourage any co-founder, any founder of a business to do exactly the same. Be really, really structured with how you're thinking about whether you should implement AI.
Yeah. Thank you so much for such a profound answer. Okay. Right now, we have covered all the questions that we have prepared. I do not want to them in holding for any longer or discussion. So I think that right now we have a flash questions game. You have two options, and you need to choose very quickly which one is the most close to you.
Okay.
So the first one, ChatGPT or Coach GPT?
Chat GPT.
Okay.
It's just like, it's just incredibly, Coach GPT is a thing that we put out and it's fun.
Yeah.
Chat GPT is something that I use every single day in my life.
Wow. Yeah, it's just a bigger system and have everything that you need, not only connected up here or to your business. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
so again, it comes down to like using it as a product. So I don't use Coach GPT as a product. So for me personally, um,
Okay.
I shouldn't say that. Chat GPT is a more useful tool for me.
Right. Then rowing or rugby?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I know
Probably
that you were
rowing.
playing. Yeah, I know that you were playing at the university, right?
Yes, so I rowed a lot and I played a lot of rugby. But
Yeah.
rowing, I think rowing is something I was much better at, and I think rowing teaches you a lot of mental fortitude.
You
So rowing is a very difficult sport. You have to push yourself extremely high, extremely hard, and I think rowing probably made me the person that I am today.
The
Sorry, I
discipline.
just dropped.
It's good.
Yeah, the kind of the discipline, and also just um, being able to push yourself is something that I think you only ever you get from running, from rowing. Running as well, I think teaches you how to push yourself. Any kind of endurance sport,
Yeah.
teaches you how to push your body to. And with rowing, it's ridiculous, right? You teach yourself that you can push your body to we used to on rowing machines. We would push ourselves so hard that we would pass out at the end of the race. It teaches you that there's like a next level that your mind can go to.
I agree. It sharpens your character, your even opportunities to some extension that you even couldn't expect. Okay, so building a startup from scratch or scaling up?
I like scaling up, which is not what most founders would say.
No.
Because most founders really like the early stage. And the early stage for me there was a lot of stress and uncertainty, whereas I think I really love the position that we're in now as a business, which was we have an amazing product in the market. Our team is brilliant. I work with just the most brilliant people I've ever worked with. They're all very inspirational, and it's great. It's like running a business is amazing. It's a complete joy to be able to run a company. Whereas in the early stages, it's a lot of fun doing that as well, but it's a different kind of fun.
Okay, and the last one, the industries, technologies or healthcare?
Healthcare. Yeah, I
and the perfect combination will be the tech and healthcare to combine, right?
Yes, yeah, definitely. But I love healthcare. I love shipping healthcare products. It's an industry that has so much latitude to do amazing things in. Whereas technology, there's lots of other people doing. I mean, we're a health tech company, but there's lots of other people doing pure technology businesses, and I don't think it interests me as much.
This is pretty much it from my side. If you have any maybe additional information or content that you would like to add, you can go right out.
No, I don't think so. Thanks for the questions. Really good.
Right.
Yeah,
so thank you so much for your time. I know that you're very busy, but I appreciate that you could devote the time for me and for the podcast.
Thanks so much.
Right now thanks for watching and thanks for being with us. Make sure you are subscribed and put the thumbs up